everyone, and welcome to episode 15 of the PE Geek podcast, the first podcast for the start of September. And as many of you are about to embark on a new school year, I wish you well. I hope that everything happens and you get a chance to utilize a lot of the things that you've been learning about over the summer vacation, and I hope that you're well rested to take on a very action-packed school year. Now, I myself am not involved in the start of a new school year. We're getting closer towards the end of our school year, and we're actually about to have a 2-week holiday in about 2 weeks' time that will see me have the opportunity to travel to the Middle East, where I'll be doing some PE Geek workshops in Dubai, stopping in at Jordan and doing some workshops there, and then flying up to the UK, my first ever chance to get to the UK to do some workshops in the UK and near Newcastle. And then I'm flying back home via the Middle East again and dropping into Doha to finish off a little whirlwind workshop tour before heading back to school for our final term. Now, as always, there's heaps happening. I mean, there's so much going on, and probably the most exciting thing for me is the development of new products and so on that people are actually finding really useful. And one of these is my upcoming game-changing video analysis app, Vitalize. And Vitalize isn't actually released yet. It's not been built completely. It's under development, and we have had an enormous uptake of interest from the PE community. Basically, Vitalize takes video analysis and makes it 100% centered around schools and assessment. So I've been wanting to do this for quite some time. However, thought this was the perfect opportunity to do it. And basically, it's video analysis for any device. I mean, it's not tied to an iPad. It's not tied to an Android tablet. It's tied to the web. So as long as you can get a browser out and search for the URL that Vitalize will be hosted under, you can use Vitalize. And basically, it's video analysis with inbuilt assessment and all of that sort of stuff to really drive change and make the whole behind-the-scenes things as easy as possible. Lots of teachers taking up the opportunity to get this at a pre-release discount. And you can do that at thepegeek.com/project. This is only available until the actual full version is released. Once that happens, that early bird price is sort of disappearing. So if you're interested in getting it for your school, I'd recommend heading along there and checking out why over 60 schools have already jumped in and bought it ahead of time. Now, on to today's topic, and it basically comes from my experience in my Year 5-6 class over the last month. Now, in the Year 5-6 sport class, which I spoke about previously on episode 14, the students are basically involved in a CPEP style arrangement where they're organizing the activities surrounding the class, and myself and my colleague, we're creating that opportunity and that environment and then assisting as we can, but it's pretty much being run by the students. And I spoke about how we had done that in a soccer opportunity and created like a World Cup scenario. However, our school has just finished its athletics carnival, and it's something that happens every year, and a lot of students enjoy the opportunity to participate in that, and it's done all on participation aspects where every kid participates in every event and they all work together to, as a house, create a overall champion house and so on. And so we had to, at some stage in our sport class, teach some of the fundamentals of this concept. But the problem with traditional track and field and athletics is that a lot of the time it is pretty boring. I mean, and I grew up, this is actually the sport that I grew up participating in, representing Victoria and going to national championships in the 400. So I really love track and field and athletics, but I actually don't like teaching it in a traditional sense, direct style teaching, because I feel that it actually is somewhat passive. You've got the basic skills that people are completing, and then a lot of downtime in between when someone, say, is jumping at high jump and so on. So a lot of opportunities there to improve this model through, let's say, a CPEP style application. And that's what we've basically done. So over the last 3 weeks, my colleague and I set up a CPEP style athletics carnival wrapped around the whole focus being participation. So we had 50 students, 2 classes of 25, and basically they ran the sports carnival. And we did that during the class sessions. The first group would set up all the activities, the various events, and then the other group would actually rotate through the events on a predetermined time scale. And they participate in them. They would get points based on how much they had improved from their previous time, not based on how far they had jumped, but on their own improvement. That's what the indicator was. And these points were then calculated into an overall team goal and overall class championship. And they absolutely loved it. So, I mean, they started by picking team names in their teams of 4, and there was some pretty interesting team names you can imagine. And then it went through, they rotated around. My class participated, and then midway through the 90-minute session, we would blow the whistle, and they would take over running the events that they were at, and then the other class would rotate through. And I mean, this was absolutely incredible because they were 100% engaged in the activity throughout the entire 90 minutes, whether it was the participation aspect or whether it was as the people organizing the events. And my colleague and I were able to walk around, provide assistance where needed, but basically we were assessing them on how well they could work together. I mean, how well could they coordinate timing and setting up events and all those sorts of things that have to happen in order for an activity to run successfully. So bear in mind, these are year 5 and 6 students, and sort of 11 and 12 years of age. So it was quite a lot of responsibility to hand over to them. But I mean, week 3, we were actually starting to see the benefit of doing it in this method. Not only were they really enjoying participating in all the events because of the team factor, but they were actually starting to work better as a team. And that's something that myself and my colleague were able to notice and observe, and that's what we'll be reporting them on. So with this athletic stuff in mind, I've been thinking about what are the opportunities there are to use technology to even boost this. What can we use technology for to increase our efficiency or increase the feedback that we provide to a group of students? So this episode is going to focus on that. I mean, what are the different apps that you could use, the different websites, etc., that might make this whole process just a little bit easier? Now, without a doubt, the number 1 app on this list of tools to improve our efficiency related to track and field and athletics is hands down Sprint Timer. And Sprint Timer is exactly what it sounds like. It's a timer or stopwatch for sprint races. But the really interesting thing about this is it doesn't just do the times. Sure, the gun goes off, you start the stopwatch, and you can record the times of all the individuals. However, what makes this incredible is that it is a photo finish tool as well. So if you can imagine me standing at the finish line of our athletics carnival yesterday, I was sitting from a bit of a height, so I was sitting on the finishing line on a bit of a judge's stand, which is a good way to actually view the carnival. But the gun would go off and I start the stopwatch, which is inside of the Sprint Timer app. And basically what it does is it brings up a screen, which is my camera, and through the center of my iPhone was a line. And all I have to do is line that line up with the finish line, which is pretty simple. Anyway, the people run the 100 meters or whatever event it is, and as they get within proximity of the finishing line, let's say 20 meters away, I press the start recording button and the people run through, and then I press stop recording when the last person's ran through, and immediately it takes me to a photo finish that has on it all the people in the race as they cross the line. You scroll to the right and you basically can see every time that people cross the line. And through this method, we were able to actually seriously break up things that in the past would have been called as a draw, because of the fact that we just wouldn't be able to tell that based on our own eyesight. So going through and actually looking at this and getting exact times has been tremendously powerful in our athletics carnival. I mean, in the past, we would have 8 or 9 parents on stopwatches, and as you know, everyone's got different reaction times. So someone hears the gun, and I mean, you'd end up with people in close races where we thought they finished first, but because the person who timed them had a faster or slower reaction time, I mean, the results didn't make sense based on the judging, and that was always a point of confusion. But the good thing about this is, I mean, it's only one person's reaction time. The gun goes off, they start the stopwatch, and they end up timing everyone in the race. I mean, that could be unlimited numbers of people too, not just 8 or 9 that tend to be in a 100-meter race, but unlimited. So game-changing. Now, I would recommend using this in conjunction with your other timing methods the first time you try it. I mean, we started using Sprint Timer at our athletics carnival about 3 years ago now, and it's gotten to the point where, I mean, it's just myself and another teacher, and we both use Sprint Timer, and he's there in case I make a mistake, and I'm there in case he makes a mistake. And I mean, we did that yesterday for over 50 races, and we both didn't make a mistake because the app is so simple and so powerful. So Sprint Timer is something that we could certainly have given to our students as well to experience. I mean, they could be timing and getting photo finishes for each other during that rotation idea that we spoke about before. But even without that, having kids do it, absolutely go and investigate Sprint Timer in your athletics carnival. And you can do that by going to thepeergeek.com/photo finish. And I mean, the cool thing is the photo finishes are amazing. I mean, you can actually have these printed out, and they're full scale, I mean, full width photo finishes that you could then be printing out and sticking up around the day to sort of try and increase the excitement about your event. Now, other than Sprint Timer, there is another app that I have built myself, which is, I mean, probably more useful for athletics style training, let's say any sort of multiple lap activities. And it's called Run Lap Tap. And it's pretty simple. I mean, the idea is that you add your runners to the app and you put in there the details of how long a lap is and how their names and so on. And then you start the race, and basically as they come through, you just tap their name. And it keeps track of how many laps everyone has done, and it gives you basic metrics on the speed they're at and the pace that they're currently set at and a prediction of what they're going to finish with. And you continue that process, and basically you just keep tapping their name as they cross the line, and that counts as a lap time. And when you've done all of your laps based on whatever you set, it stops the race and that person is finished, and then you just complete that until all runners are finished, and then you end up with a report. So Run Lap Tap, I know, is being used by a lot of people for training purposes. However, you could certainly extend it to something other than training. You could use it for the actual timing of an event on that scale. So if you want to access Run Lap Tap, you can head to thepeergeek.com/RLT, and you'll see that it's available on both the iPhone and the iPad. Now, one of the other really interesting things that you could possibly do inside of your track and field program is the use of BAM video delay. And this is something that I've spoken about a lot on my workshops. But BAM video delay is without a doubt one of the most game-changing apps. I mean, you've heard me talk about it before. The ability to create instant replays of up to 2 minutes. And I mean, this is incredibly powerful for those athletic events. Imagine long jump where you've got a tripod pointing towards the sandpit or the takeoff line, for example. And when someone's foot lands on the marker and they jump into the pit, I mean, they could have an instant replay of that particular action. So if you're not quite sure whether or not it was a foul, then you just look at the BAM video delay, which just so happened to capture that, and you can watch it back frame by frame to determine whether or not it was. I mean, tremendously powerful stuff, and all available at $3 or $4 to create this sort of really, really powerful experience. Whether you pointed it towards the people to determine whether it was a foul or not, or whether you pointed it towards the person who jumped to give them feedback on the different things that they could do, the opportunities are sort of wide open here. So basically the idea would be is you could get a tripod, and you can get those really easily, online, thepeergeek.com/tripods, and basically you'd put the app into it, point it towards whatever you wanted to give feedback on, and provide a delay that you thought was suitable. In the same case, obviously long jump works perfectly, but in high jump, I mean, you can have band video delay pointed towards the actual bar or the side of the high jump mat or whatever it might be that you wanted to capture some feedback on, or maybe before the run up. And people could jump, then they had, up to 30 seconds, 40 seconds, 2 minutes to get back to the iPad to actually see this replay. And at the same time, everyone else is engaged in that experience. So you can actually start to build up a real big carnival atmosphere related to these events that you're doing. I mean, imagine having an instant replay in your high jump final at school. How would that boost people's engagement and excitement about the event? How would that increase the feedback that you're providing to the students? I mean, amazing sort of stuff that you can do here with just a couple of apps that we've spoken about so far. Now, another aspect of our track and field program, our carnival, is the jobs of people who supervise particular events. So basically, all the teachers in our school participate in helping run the event, the carnival, etc. And that's a model that is used in many schools. However, with this sort of approach, there is people who end up on events who maybe don't have the full experience or knowledge about how that event actually works. So what we have actually done to help with this is on the actual judging slips that are at those particular events, let's say discus, for example, or let's say shot put, we've gone and filmed a series of videos, and they're actually contextually relevant to that particular environment. So rather than just pointing to a video of someone explaining shot put and it's at an Olympic stadium, for example, we've gone and filmed particular videos at that spot where that person is going to be when they would watch it. And with their mobile device, or we supply an iPad with them, regardless of those conditions, they scan the QR code and they're presented with a video that basically takes them through the rules of that event and the different things that they need to do to ensure that they actually complete the rules of the event properly. Now, this has been sort of instrumental in ensuring that our carnival gets ran as smooth as possible, and that everyone is under the same impression about how a event should actually be conducted. The good thing about this isn't just something that the people who are running the event can play and watch. I mean, you can extend this video playback to the people who are turning up to participate in the event. While they're waiting for the other people to finish, they could scan the QR code and they get a complete overview of the various rules that they need to follow, contextually relevant to that place. Now, if you want to create a QR code, I mean, you can do this so easily at qrstuff.com. And the first option you see on that screen is to copy in a link from a video or a web resource or whatever it may be, and then turn it into a QR code. And then you just print that out and attach it to the program or attach it to the actual judging slips that are for that particular event. Now, in terms of hosting the video, we recorded them and made them available in Dropbox. That's it. Dropbox is a great place to store video content, and you can create custom public links for it. So if you can imagine how powerful that was, people turning up to an event, they're not quite sure of it. Maybe they watch this before they actually turn up to the event as well. Scan the QR code. Here's a video of myself and the other sports coordinators actually talking through what they need to do, how they hold the tape to ensure that it's being measured correctly. You can see how powerful that would be for information purposes. I mean, extending on that, wouldn't it be great if you actually had the students, perhaps my year 5-6 students, record those videos? So as evidence of their understanding of those particular activities, because they were running those activities, they could record a video that became the resource that is then watched by the people who are participating in those events from then on. Tremendously powerful and tremendously opportunistic way to show their understanding of those particular events. So there's just a couple of ideas related to how you can utilize technology inside of that athletics carnival. It's particularly relevant to the model that we use, which was about the students facilitating the activities rather than myself and other teachers. And I mean, this is certainly an opportunity for you in your school. I mean, a lot of these things here are free, or they're a couple of dollars. and they have the capacity to sort of really boost what you're trying to achieve with an athletics and track and field program. Now, before we finish today's episode, I just wanted to share with you something that I'm actually working on at the present. And this is the culmination of my experience facilitating athletics carnivals, swimming carnivals, cross-country events, and so on. And basically, I am building and have just started building a all-encompassing software solution, basically built for the web, called Sports Tracker. And Sports Tracker is going to do exactly what you would want from any sort of carnival software. Now, if you're familiar with software like Meet Manager or other tools related to setting up a carnival, tracking results, and so on, then you're going to be familiar with the sort of idea that I have here. So Sports Tracker is going to be designed for schools. It's going to be designed to facilitate the event registration. It's going to facilitate communication of results to students and to parents as well, I must add. And also it's going to be going to enable people who are working at a particular event to put their results in and have these all get sent and collated on a mass scale. So basically, Sports Tracker will be a website that you visit, you create your carnivals at, you create your sign-up forms at, and so on, and then you hand it over to students to sign up for events. They basically do that from whatever device they like. Then it's a matter of printing out the judging slips if you wanted to, actually the event registration and marshalling slips, and then starting the events, or just entering the results directly into the iPhone and iPad. Now, the cool thing is here that we will be providing a parent code to anyone who would like to follow along with the event. And parents will download the free Sports Tracker app for their device or visit the website, and they'll log in and pretty easily be able to follow all the results for the carnival. As they are basically entered, they'll be able to see what times people finished in and all that sort of stuff auto-magically. So Sports Tracker is currently under development. It's something I'm really excited to bring out. I mean, as soon as Vitalize is done, Sports Tracker will be the next thing that waves out. And as it basically comes out, you'll have the opportunity to be part of its development. In the same way that Vitalize has been launched, Sports Tracker will be launched with a pre-early access price so that you can jump in, that you can suggest features and all of that sort of stuff. So if you want to be part of this Sports Tracker launch, then head to the peergeek.com/sports tracker, all one word, and you'll be able to find out a little bit more information about it. But that brings us to the end of episode 15, and I hope that you've been able to take out a couple of things of interest here, and I look forward to seeing and hearing from you via email if you have any questions related to the episode. And as always, thank you for actually taking the time out of your day to listen to this podcast. I mean, I wouldn't bother doing it if people weren't listening. And just the fact that people are, and they're emailing me and saying that they're actually enjoying the episodes, means I'm going to continue doing it. So best of luck if you're starting a new school year. And until next time, see you later.